The Famous Five by Elip Blyton, read by AV Studios. 5 go adventuring again. Episode 1. Chapter 1. The Christmas Holidays. It was the last week of Christmas term, and all the girls at Gayland School were looking forward to the Christmas holiday. Anne sat down at the breakfast table and picked a letter addressed to her. "Hello, look at this," she said to her cousin Georgina, who was sitting beside her. "A letter from Daddy, and I only had one from him and Mummy yesterday. I hope it's not bad news," said George. She would not allow anyone to call her Georgina, and now even her mistress called her Georgina. She was really like a boy, with short curly hair and her boyish ways. She looked anxiously at Anne as her cousin read the letter. "Oh, George, we can't go home for the Christmas holiday," said Anne with the tears in her eyes. "Mummy's got scarlet fever and Dad's in quarantine for her, so they can't have us back. Oh, isn't this too bad?" I'm so sorry," said George. She was just as disappointed as for herself as for Anne, because Anne's mother had invited George and her dog Timothy to stay for the Christmas holidays with them. She had been promised many things that she had never seen before: the pantomime and a circus and a big party with a fine Christmas tree. Now it would never happen. "What will the two boys say?" said Anne, thinking of Julian and Nick, her two brothers. "They won't be able to go home either." "Well, what are we going to do for the holiday then?" asked George. "Won't you come and stay at Kieran Cottage with me? I'm sure your mother would love to have you again. We had such fun when you came for the summer halls." "Wait a minute, let me finish the letter, Dad, and see what Daddy says," said Anne, picking up the note. "Poor Mummy, I hope she isn't feeling very ill." She read a few more lines and gave such a delight of explanation that George and the other girls waited impatiently for her to explain. "Oh, George, we're coming to you, but oh, blow, blow, blow. We've got to have a tutor for the halls, partly to look after us so that your mother doesn't have too much bother with us, and partly because Julian and Dick have been ill with flu twice this term and have been behind their work." "A tutor? How sickening! This means I'll have to do lessons too, I'll bet," said George in dismay. When my mother and my father see my report, I guess they'll find out how little I know. After all, this is the first time I've ever been to proper school, and there's heaps of things I don't know. What horrid holes there'll be if we have to tutor running after us all the time," said Anne gloomily. "I'll expect I'll have quite a good reporter, because I've done well in the exams, but it won't be any fun for me not doing lessons with you three in the halls. Though, of course, I could go off with Timothy, I suppose. He wouldn't be doing lessons." "Yes, he will," said George at once. She could not bear the idea of her beloved dog Timothy going off each morning with Anne, while she, George, and sat working hard with Julian and Dick. "Timothy can't do lessons. Don't be silly, George," said Anne. He'll sit under my feet while I'm doing them," said George. "It will be great to help to feel him there. For goodness sake, eat your sausages, Anne. We've nearly finished. The bell will go in a minute and you won't have had any breakfast." "I'm glad Mummy isn't very bad," said Anne, hurriedly finishing her letter. "Daddy says she's written to Dick and Julian to tell your father to ask him to engage a tutor for us." "Oh, dash! This will be an awful disappointment, isn't it? I don't mean I shan't enjoy going to Karen Cottage again and seeing Karen Island, but after all, there's no pantomimes or circuses or parties there to look forward at Karen. At the end of the term came quickly. Anne and George packed up their trunks and put on labels, enjoying the noise and excitement of the last 2 days. The big school coaches rolled up to the door and the girls clambered in. "Off to Karen again," said Anne. "Come on, Timothy, darling. You could sit between me and George." Gayland School allowed the children to keep their pets. Timothy, George, the big mongrel dog, had been such a success, except the time when he had run after the dustman and dragged the dustbin away from him, all the way up to George grounds and into George's classroom. He had really behaved extremely well. "I'm sure you'll have a good report, Tim," said George, giving the dog a hug. "We're going home. Will you like that?" "Woof," said Tim in his deep voice. He stood up and wagged his tail, and there was a squeal from the seat behind. "George, make Tim sit down. He's wagging my hat off." It was not very long before the two girls and Timothy were in London, being put into the train for Karen. "I do wish the boys broke up today too," sighed Anne. "Then we could have all gone down to Karen again. That would have been fun." Julian and Dick broke up the next day and were to join the girls then at Karen Cottage. Anne was very much looking forward to seeing them again. The term was a very long time to be away from one another. She had been glad to have her cousin George with her. The three of them stayed with George all summer and had some exciting adventures together on the little island of the coast. An old castle stood in the island, and in the dungeons the children had made all kinds of wonderful discoveries. "It will be lovely to go across to Karen Island again," said Anne. "Again, George," said Anne. The tread sped off towards the west. "We shan't be able to do that," said George. "The sea is terribly rough in the wind around the island in winter. It will be too dangerous to try and row there." "Oh, what a pity," said Anne, disappointed. "I was looking forward to some more adventures there." "It won't be any adventures at Karen there in the winter. It's cold down there, and when it snows, it can't sometimes get frozen completely. Can't walk to the village because the sea wind blows the snowdrift so high." "Oh, that sounds rather exciting," said Anne. "Well, it really isn't. It's awfully boring. Nothing to do but to sit all day or turn with a spade and dig the snow away." It was a long time before the train reached the little station that served Karen, but at last it was there, pulling in it slowly and stopping in a tiny platform. The two girls jumped out eagerly and looked to see if anyone had met them. Yes, that was George's mother. "Hello, George, darling." "Hello, Anne," said George's mother, and gave both children a hug. "Anne, I'm so sorry about your mother, but she's getting on all right. You'll be glad to know." "Oh, good," said Anne. "It's nice of you to have us, Aunt Fanny. We'll try and be good. What about Uncle Quentin? Will he mind having 4 children in the winter time? We won't be able to go out and leave him in peace as often as we did last summer." George's father was a scientist, a very clever man, but rather frightening. He had a little patience with the children, and the 4 of them had felt very afraid of him at times in the summer. "Oh, your uncle is still working very hard at his book," said Aunt Fanny. "You know, he has been working out on a secret theory, a secret idea, and putting it all into his book. He says that once it's explained and finished, he's going to take it to some high authority and his idea will be used for the good of the country. Oh, Aunt Fanny, that does sound exciting. What's the secret? I can't tell you that, silly, said his aunt, laughing. Why, even myself don't know it. Come along now. It's cold standing here, and Timothy looks very fat and well, George dear. Oh, Mother, it has been a marvellous time at school. He really has. He chewed up the cook's old slippers and chased the cat that lives in the stables every time he saw her, and once got into the larder and ate a whole steak pie. Oh, good gracious, Georgia. I should think that the school will refuse to have Timothy next term, said her mother in horror. Wasn't he well punished? I hope he was. No, he wasn't, said George, going rather red. You see, Mother, we are responsible for our pets and their behaviour ourselves. So if ever Timothy does anything bad, I'm punished for it because I haven't been shut him up properly or something like that. Well, you must have had quite a lot of punishment then, said her mother as she drove the little pony trap along the frosty roads. I really think that's a rather good idea. There was a twinkle in her eyes as she spoke. I think I'll keep the same idea. Punish you every time Timothy misbehaves himself. The girls laughed. They felt happy and excited. Holidays were fun. Going back to Karen was lovely. Tomorrow the boys would come and Christmas would be there. Good old Karen, said Anne as they came in sight of the pretty old house. Oh, there's Karen Island. The two looked out on the sea where the old ruined castle stood on the little island of Karen. What adventures they had in the summer. The girls went inside. Quentin, called George's mother. Quentin, the girls are here. Uncle Quentin came out of his study and looked to the other side of the house. Anne thought he would look taller and darker than ever, and frownier, she said to herself. Uncle Quentin might have been very clever, but Anne preferred someone jolly and smiling, like her own father. She shook hands with his uncle politely and watched George kiss him. Well, said Uncle Quentin to Anne, I hear you got a tutor for you, at least for the two boys. My word, you will have to behave yourself with a tutor, I can tell you. This was meant to be a joke, but it didn't sound very nice to Anne and George. People you had to behave well with and were usually strict and tiresome. The boys were glad, both girls were glad when George's father had gone back into the study. Your father has been working far too hard lately, said George's mother. He's tired out. Thank goodness his book is nearly finished. I hoped to be finished by Christmas so that he could join in with the fun and game, but now he says it can't. Oh, what a pity, said Aunt politely, though secretly she thought it was a very good thing, and wouldn't have been much fun having Uncle Quentin playing charades and things like that. Oh, Aunt Fanny, I'm so looking forward to seeing Julian and Dick, and won't they be pleased to see Tim and George? Aunt Fanny, no one calls George at school Georgina at school, not even from our mistress. I would rather hope they would, because I wanted to see what would happen when she refused to answer to Georgina. George, you liked school, didn't you? Yes, I did, though I thought I'd hate it because with being with a lot of others, but it's fun. After all, but Mother, you won't find my report very good, I'm afraid. There's a lot of things I was bad at because I'd never done them before. Well, you've never been to school before, said her mother. I'll explain it to your father if he gets upset. Now go along and get ready for a late tea. You must be very hungry. The girls went upstairs to their little rooms I'm glad to be not spending the holidays by myself, said George. I've had so much fun since I've known you and the boys. Hey, Timothy, where have you gone? He's gone to smell around the house to see it's his proper home, with a giggle. He wants to know if the kitchen smells the same in the bathroom and his basket. It must be just as exciting for him to come home for the holiday as it is for us. Anne was right. Timothy was thrilled to be back again, and he ran around George's mother, sniffing at her legs in friendliness, pleased to see her again. She ran into the kitchen, but soon came out because someone new was there. Jonah the cook, a fat, panting person who caught his eye with suspicion. You can come into the kitchen once a day for your dinner, said Jonah, and that's all. I'm not having meat and sausages and chicken disappearing under my nose if I could help it. I know what dogs are. I do. Timothy ran into the scullery and sniffed around there. He ran into the dining room and the sitting room. He was pleased to find that it was same old smell. He had put his nose to the door of George's father worked, sniffed very cautiously. He didn't mean to go in. Timothy was just as wary of George's father as the others were. He ran upstairs to the girls' bedroom again. Where's the basket? It must be by the window seat. Good. That meant he was to sleep in the girls' bedroom once more. He curled himself in his basket and thumped it with his tail. Glad to be back, said his tail. Glad to be back.